There are complex building sites, and then there are these. For decades, scientists and engineers have been trying to construct giant machines that recreate what happens inside the sun. Say it with me: nuclear fusion. It's where, instead of splitting atoms to generate power, like with nuclear fission, they're forced together at extreme temperatures. If successful, these systems could bring about a virtually limitless source of energy. But unsurprisingly, it's proving to be immensely difficult, with even huge multinational collaborations struggling to make it work. But now a new player has entered the race. It's a small, privately funded US startup that's making rapid progress. And not only is it catching up to its much bigger competitors, it looks like it might just win a race to master a technology that has, at times, seemed impossible. So, if you're not a regular viewer of the B1M, then right about now you're probably thinking, what on earth is nuclear fusion? If you want a full rundown, it's worth going to check out the video we did back in 2024 when I travelled inside the world's largest nuclear fusion reactor that's currently under construction down in the south of France. If you're off to do that, great, but keep this tab open, come back and finish this video, we'd really appreciate it. If you don't want to do that, if you think it's all a bit technical, then don't worry, because we've put together a simple summary of nuclear fusion. Basically, nuclear fusion is where you take a whole bunch of hydrogen atoms, heat them up a lot, we're talking over 100 million degrees Celsius, and bring them to the point where they form a plasma. This causes them to fuse together and create helium and neutrons, generating huge amounts of energy. It all happens in a special donut-shaped vacuum chamber known as a tokamak. Inside, a series of magnetic fields confine the plasma and suspend it within a space known as the torus. That way, it can be kept apart from anything solid.
The fuel we have inside the tokamak is a mix of deuterium and tritium, which are both types of hydrogen. You need very, very small amounts of fusion fuel. So like over the course of a year, a 400 megawatt net electric arc power plant will use roughly 100 kilograms of fuel.
Now, the superconducting magnets that make all this possible have to be incredibly strong and able to withstand those crazy temperatures. And usually they have to be absolutely massive and made from complicated sounding materials like niobium tin, which are very hard to come by. But that's not necessarily the case anymore, as we'll discover in a bit. If you're still with us, then well done. When I visited ITER in the south of France, that's the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, it was an amazing experience. The place is absolutely epic, both in its scale and its ambition. But as I discovered when I was there, there's been a few setbacks and delays, because building a nuclear fusion machine is extremely difficult. Another key thing to remember about ITER is that it's basically a huge experiment and won't provide electricity for people to actually use. Whereas this firm over in America is planning to construct a fully operational tokamak and is on the way to building a power plant that can bring nuclear fusion power to the grid, something which has never been done. Commonwealth Fusion Systems is the name, and it's considerably smaller and younger than that huge organisation over in Europe, which was formed way back in the 1980s. CFS was only founded in 2018 by a team from the Plasma Science and Fusion Centre, which is part of the famous Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT.
We are basically trying to build fusion power plants around the world and use that to make, firm, clean, abundant energy. We're about 7 years old as a company. We're about roughly 1,000 people now, so we've grown a bit in those years.
So how are they going to harness that power and get it to the grid? Well, there will be something surrounding all that plasma in the tokamak. It's called a blanket, made from a type of molten salt. That's going to heat up and generate steam, with the rest of the system set up in a similar way to a nuclear fission plant. All the steam gets passed through a turbine, which then turns and generates electricity. As for where the plant's going to be constructed, it'll be happening right here on this plot of land in Virginia, just outside Richmond. But before we get into that, I know this video has a lot of jargon. When I first started this channel, I didn't expect to be explaining nuclear fission to you guys, but here we are. What keeps me on the ball is a daily lesson with Brilliant, whether I want to learn about science, AI, data analysis, math or programming. Their scientific thinking course covers everything from refraction to chain reactions. And even if you covered those topics in school, you'd be amazed by how much you've forgotten. In just a few minutes, I can break out of whatever thought processes I'm stuck in and give my brain a chance to do some creative problem solving. And believe me, I get it. When you're busy, it's easy to make up excuses. But because it's on my phone, I can always find a spare 10 minutes. Guys, you can try out Brilliant for free by heading to brilliant.org/the B1M, scanning the QR code on screen, or clicking the link down there in the video description. Brilliant is also giving our viewers 20% off an annual premium subscription, which will give you unlimited daily access to everything. Now, it's time to focus on that nuclear fusion plant. Called ARC, it'll provide 400 megawatts of fusion-generated electricity straight to the state's power reserves. That's enough for around 150,000 homes, and the plan is to have it running by the early 2030s. Now, if you're a Marvel fan, that name might sound familiar. The glowing thing that powers Iron Man's suit is called the arc reactor, and it was based on the idea of nuclear fusion.
The arc reactor was a stepping stone to something greater. Something so big that it was going to make the nuclear reactor look like a AAA battery.
Now, we don't know whether CFS's plant is a nod to this or just a coincidence, but either way, nuclear fusion machines are now something you're not going to see just in the movies. This is happening for real. And just like Tony Stark, the company's teamed up with some powerful allies to complete its worthy mission. Dominion Energy, the largest utility company in the state of Virginia, has signed up to provide expertise and leasing rights for the site. They've been getting plenty of financial backing too. So far, the firm has received more than $2 billion in private funding, with Bill Gates as one of its investors, and it's taken in millions of dollars in grants. Another sign that CFS should be taken seriously came in the form of a new strategic partnership with Google. Signed in June 2025, it's a deal that saw the tech giant agree to purchase 200 megawatts, yes, half, of all the power generated from this first plant. Google has the option to buy power from future plants as well, and it's also upped its stake in CFS, although details of that haven't been released just yet. So they're not short of money or big-name partners, but surely you can't just go and piece together a nuclear fusion power plant, something that's eluded scientists for decades, without building some kind of prototype first? Well, yes, which is why they've been doing exactly that. Before they build the ARC, they need to finish this, the SPARC. Under construction in Devons, Massachusetts, which is about 50 miles northwest of Boston, it's a demo project that CFS is going to use to prove that commercial fusion is actually possible.
We have to build the tokamak itself, but we also have to build a facility around it to support and operate the machine, and also to take the fusion heat out. We have a tokamak hall that has 4 wings around it, and I like to think that each of those buildings has something that either goes into the tokamak or comes out of the tokamak.
Firstly, there's the operations building, which is full of diagnostic equipment used to run the machine and monitor what's happening inside. Then you've got the radio frequency heating building, which houses all the electronics needed to cook the hydrogen fuel up to the right temperature. I say cook because it works in a similar way to a microwave oven, except it uses radio waves instead. Now, I don't need to say this because you've made it this far into a nuclear fusion video. You're already a reasonably intelligent human being. But remember, this is for cooking plasma, not pizza. Don't try and cook a pizza in a tokamak, because you're going to end up with it very well done, and you'll have personally sabotaged mankind's shot at clean energy. Next up is the power building, and that's where all the electricity that goes into those magnets comes from. Finally, there's the utility building, which no, is not full of washing machines and cleaning supplies. The utility room is much cooler, quite literally. As well as being the place where the fusion heat is removed, it's home to all the cryogenics equipment for keeping the magnets cold, like seriously cold. We're talking lower than minus 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Going back to the tokamak, one thing that makes the SPARC one different to others that have been built before is the approach being taken with those magnets. Although they might look similar to the ones used at ITER with the same D shape, they're actually made from something else. Developed by CFS, they use a new type of material called REBCO, which stands for Rare Earth Barium Copper Oxide.
This was discovered in the 1980s, but for a long time you could only make like tiny quantities in a lab somewhere. But in the last like maybe 10 years or so, a number of companies around the world have ramped up production of that considerably, so you can make industrially relevant quantities of it now. And our innovation was take that material and engineer a magnet out of it.
According to the company, these magnets are so strong they can be smaller than ones found on other tokamaks, which means the whole system can be scaled down as well. That's pretty obvious when you look at where they're building their prototype reactor. This place is big, but it's still dwarfed by the enormous ITER enclave. The idea is to have SPARC producing its first plasma as soon as 2026. Once that happens, the focus is then going to switch to reaching net positive state. That's where more energy is coming out of the nuclear fusion reaction than goes in to power it. And only once they've got to that point are they then going to go and build the main plant. There's also another reason why CFS appears to be in a bit of a hurry. This is not a one-horse race. It has competition from other groups who also believe they have what it takes to build the first commercial facility. Washington-based Helion Energy is probably its main American rival, and reckons it could have a plant operating even sooner, by 2028. They've already built 6 prototypes of their reactor and have signed their own power purchase agreement with Microsoft. Then you've got China. Although it seems to be a bit behind the US on the path to commercial power, the country is running some of the world's largest and most advanced experimental fusion projects. They're planning to raise the bar even further by constructing the first ever fusion fission plant in the next 5 years. That's where neutrons made from fusion can cause fission to occur in surrounding materials. Now, don't worry, we're not going to go into any more detail on that because we think you've had enough science for one day. We also don't actually know anything more about it. But the point is, Commonwealth Fusion Systems might be the one to bet on right now, but it's also got quite a bit of competition, and as we've seen before, getting this process right can be extremely difficult.
CFS has been set up with the sole purpose of like go build fusion power plants. So I think like we are structured to be fast, to be efficient, to be like have this like very clear mission. Known physics, this new magnet technology, and then like a purpose-built organization allow us to move quickly.
Whoever emerges victorious, it's a breakthrough that can't come soon enough. Our planet is set to see unprecedented growth in demand for electricity over the coming years. Rising populations will lead to more housing, businesses and infrastructure. Then you've got the electrification of transport and the rise of power-hungry tech like AI. Wherever it comes from, having a new source of clean, abundant energy can only be seen as a positive. A technology that's promised so much for so long could finally be unleashed. Don't forget that you can level up your knowledge with a quick lesson thanks to our video sponsors at Brilliant. The link is down there in the video description. Every time you guys go and check out our video sponsors, it really helps us at the B1M. It helps us continue to make great videos for you guys, so please do take the time to do that. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video and you want to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, make sure you're subscribed to the B1M.